What's up, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward, talk about other factors involving Tesla, and what you should be watching for as time goes on. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15, not to mention an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. The offer ends in just 3 weeks. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with Tesla. So, looking at Tesla, we have a very, very strong looking uptrend from this cup and handle like structure, and we're doing a very, very awesome job at pushing and pushing. Now, Tesla's getting very close to this $400 price target area. I think it's very, very awesome to see it pushing the way it is. But the question remains, what is causing Tesla to push this way, and what do I think is going to pan out moving forward? Just know that we're getting lots of bullish price targets from different analysts. We just saw Bank of America talking about how the AI sector of Tesla is looking very strong, and they had a $400 price target. On top of this, we also saw other securities, such as like Fubon Securities, saying Tesla will go to 472 a share. And then Morgan Stanley was also very bullish because of Tesla's potential sales increase for 2025 and also their AI sector. So lots of these different analysts are coming out saying they're very bullish on Tesla. Tesla's going to be hitting $400, and others are saying 472 could be possible. Wedbush analysts are also coming out and saying that $500 to $600 a share is very possible. So we're seeing it all over the place right now. That's really helping the share price go up. On top of that, there's a lot of news involving the Cybercab, as a Tesla engineer has said that's going to likely have fewer parts than the Model 3 and the Model Y, about 50 to 60% fewer parts, if anything. And that's going to be a lot more cost effective. He mentioned that that's what's going to like help drive that, and it's going to help improve the margins potentially. So that's some good news for Tesla as well. Now, over the weekend, there is this news that came out right here. Tesla's highlighting the top vehicle safety scores across 4 continents. And that's an amazing piece of news that just goes to show how safe Teslas tend to be. So you're starting to see them exceeding the safety standards all over the world. And it's all over not just these different countries, but different continents. So that includes the US, Europe, China, Australia, New Zealand, and many other areas just like that. Once again, that covers 4 continents and just goes to show how effective that they have been. They also got awarded with 5-star safety ratings from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or the NHTSA. And they also got the top safety picks from the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety. So great news from Tesla. We're starting to see a lot of good ratings coming out, and I believe that Teslas are very, very safe. Now, just know this, FSD is a little bit separate from this. I think that FSD is also relatively safe. However, it's not necessarily perfect yet, and there's a lot of improvements that have to be made. So just remember that if one is using FSD, you always have to remember that you got to be paying attention and being prepared just in case something does go wrong. But just know that Tesla, is doing a great job. Their cars are very safe when driven by humans. And then you also have to remember that with FSD, it's a work in progress, but there's a lot of progress being made, and it makes me very excited for what the long term has to hold. Now, for the share price of Tesla, we had about 81 million in volume on Friday. We started off with very low volume, but then it went up like crazy towards the end of the day as Tesla started pushing. Also, just note the short volume is going up just a little bit, but it's not really affecting the share price too much. Guggenheim gave Tesla a sell rating because they think that Tesla is fundamentally overvalued. But Bank of America Securities gave Tesla a buy rating as well, alongside others out there such as like Stifel. We also had Wedbush analysts remaining very bullish. The price price ratio is going up as Tesla's building a lot of strength. And then we tend to see more volatility on Mondays. We're actually green historically 53% of the time. We tend to see more volatility at 11 a.m. and then 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On top of that, we're still seeing a lot of good news that's been coming out for Tesla, a lot of big buy orders as well. So looking at the latest data, Tesla's doing a great job. The buyers and the whales are still stepping in. As far as the overall market goes, just know that tomorrow is going to be Monday, December 9th, 2024. At 10 o'clock a.m., we have wholesale inventories. At 11 a.m., we have consumer inflationary expectations. And at 11:30, a.m., we have the 3 and 6 month bill auctions. So we'll see what this leads to. Look for some volatility as these come out. But I don't think it's going to be that crazy. There might be a little bit of volatility, but nothing too insane because it's all minor data. For earnings, on Monday, we have Oracle announcing its earnings. For Tuesday, which is going to be 2 days from now, we have AutoZone, GameStop, and a few more. On Wednesday, we have Macy's and Adobe announcing earnings. And then on Thursday, we have Costco. So get ready for all of those. The Fear and Greed Index is currently at neutral, stuck in the middle. It's neutral because we're seeing the S&P 500 kind of stuck within a range. Other tickers are also kind of like in the red, such as like a lot of finance stocks, but then we're starting to see tech holding up. So very mixed market, at least in terms of the numbers. The small caps are a little bit weaker right now, but big tech holds up, and that's why the market's in a more neutral phase. However, momentum for the S&P 500 is very bullish because there's a lot of greed, and we're still well above our 125 daily moving average near all-time highs. That's why we're still around that area. For other factors out there, we have the put to call option ratio. Just know that the 5 day average is basically showing us that there's a lot of puts being closed, a lot of call buying that's very present. So we'll have to see what that leads to, at least moving forward. I think that we're doing a great job, at least thus far, in terms of holding our support. But the issue with this is that sometimes this does lead to like sell offs in the markets. That makes me think that there is a possibility that the market's going to be fighting some tough resistance. But it does not guarantee anything because price action is what's going to be king. And lastly, we have the VIX, which is continuing to fall. It still looks bearish right now, technically speaking, so we'll have to see how that goes. So we'll see. Anyways, that is it for my analysis of the news. Now let's just focus on the charts and nothing else. So I just want to mention that right now, Tesla's doing a very, very good job at holding up at its key support, and it's very bullish looking at this cup and handle like structure. Well, we're well above our EMAs, and when you look at the bigger time frames, such as the daily time frame, Tesla looks very, very strong, very, very bullish. The 4 hour looks bullish, and so does the weekly. The weekly looks very strong. Typically, these weekly charts do lead to even more upside, so I think we're just getting started. So when you zoom out of the weekly, just know that there's a good chance that Tesla will be testing the first resistance at $400 a share. If 400 breaks, the all-time high is very close to about that like 414 area. We could be getting closer to that if we break past 400 then 410. So I'll be watching that very, very closely. And then, above that, we have the psychological 420 coming next. So watch those levels. Basically, look at 400 as resistance. If we get above 400 and hold very nicely, I could be looking for 410. And then if that breaks, we have 414 and then 420s are resistance areas. If we turn back down, just hypothetically, if there is some kind of bad news, you want to see Tesla essentially lose this 390 area. If that does not hold and we lose that, we could be dipping closer to about 385 all over again, followed by 380 flat. So make sure you watch those supports. If 380 fails us, we have 378, then 365 is our targets. I don't really see it dipping that much. I think we still look more bullish. So we're favoring a push to even higher levels. So with that being said, what do I think is going to pan out for tomorrow? Make sure you watch your levels just to be safe. It's always important to know that. But the share price looks like it's building a lot of momentum, and we look very, very bullish. I expect this to be kind of like popping in the mornings because when you look at this, if you look at like last Friday or like 2 Fridays ago, we pumped and dumped in the morning. Another Monday, we kind of traded sideways. Then we pushed and dipped. On a Monday, last Monday, we saw this thing kind of like pop a bit and then consolidate. Tuesday, it kind of traded sideways. Wednesday, it pumped and slowed down. Thursday, it pumped and slowed down. Friday, it started off a little slow, then it got a big pump. So my point is typically we get strong starts for Tesla and we tend to finish strong as well sometimes. So I think what's going to happen is this is going to likely try to go straight up to 400. We'll have to see if we can break past that. It might attempt to break down to the lower 400s like 402, 405. And then it might consolidate around 400 for some time before it tries to shoot higher for 410. But overall, it looks very, very bullish. We'll see if we can hold above 400, though, just to be safe. We'll see how well we hold above that. But just know there's a very good chance we are going to be testing that and surpassing it very soon. That being said, guys, I expect Tesla to be hitting 400 and then breaking it. I'm very, very bullish on Tesla. But we'll see how well it holds above it, though, just to be safe. And as long as we end up holding above it, I'm going to be looking for like new all-time highs potentially. So just keep that in mind. So tomorrow, look for a test of 400 in the morning. We'll see how well we hold above it. If we do, there's going to be a much bigger push, at least for us moving forward. I think we're doing a fantastic job. We look bullish. We're very, very strong. I think the odds, favor us continuing this pump. For other factors out there, we have SPY. Now, SPY is in the middle. I just want to say that even though this looks like a double top, we are in a range on SPY. As we get close to 608 to 609, we tend to reject in this range. And as we hit 606, we tend to get bought back up. So we're going back and forth in this range. I anticipate we could be dipping closer to about 606 for a small dip. This also aligns with our 20 EMA as we kind of push higher here. So we might be looking for a move just like this where SPY is, although it's in this range, we might be coming back down like this. And we watch to see if we get some kind of bounce from here or not. If not, if we don't bounce off 606, we dip down to 604. If we bounce off 606 and we break 609, we remain more bullish. So keep those levels in mind. Okay, so If we break 609, we're bullish. We're going to be looking for 611. If we lose 606, we'll go down to 604 to fill the gap below. But I would say this, as of right now, we're just range bound between 606 and 609-ish. So look for a dip to about 606, and then we might just consolidate in this range for some time, and we'll see which way we end up breaking just to be safe. But hopefully we see a big test of 606, and we'll see what it does from there. ES also has a range right here. I think there's a good chance it dips a little bit lower. We're going to be looking for the 6,100 areas of tough resistance, 6,100 to 6,110. If that does not hold, we're looking for a dip back down to 60.80, not to mention 60.60. So we could be dipping back down to about 60.84, and we'll see if we bounce off this or not. Look for a small dip, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. I think ES could be dipping to about 60.80. That's going to be close to our 20 EMA, and then we'll see what kind of reaction we get, at least from here moving forward. So look for a test of 60.80, and we'll see what happens. So there might be a small dip in the morning, then we'll see the reaction we get from there. On Nvda, it's very simple. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure that's developing. However, we haven't officially gotten a bounce here, and we're barely holding the support here. So look for a test of 141.5 tomorrow. If we hold that, we could try to bounce like this back up to 144. But if we don't hold 141.5, we could dip a little bit lower, closer to 138 before we get some kind of bounce like this. So keep that in mind. We're going to bounce off one of these levels, either 141 or 138. Because we have a nice inverse head and shoulders forming here, it could go either way, so we'll have to see about that. But that is one pattern that could be developing. We'll see. For Bitcoin, this is more bullish because we are approaching these key resistance areas. We're holding our 20 EMA very nicely at 99,598. So look for a dip here, then a bounce, and we could be on our way for 100,000 and 102,000. So I think it's doing a great job at holding its support. For other factors, we happen to have NQ. NQ is looking quite good right here. It's on a very, very strong uptrend. If we were to dip lower, we're looking for essentially 21,600 to remain support, and we'll see if we bounce off that or not. If it doesn't bounce, we're looking for 21,500. So we'll have to see how we react to this resistance. There could be a small dip here before it tries to bounce higher. But then if we don't break out from here, we'll have to see the reaction we get. So look and see if we make a move like this to continue to push higher. But if we lose support at the 20 EMA at 21,500, then we could be dipping a little bit lower. So we're going to be looking for a little bit of a dip and a bounce is the most likely possibility. But just to be safe, we'll watch our big test at our 20 EMA. For the QQQ, we're very strong. We're making higher highs and higher lows. There's no sign of this thing rejecting quite yet. So generally what happens is you're going to be looking for a little back test. If we do get some kind of dip here, there might be a liquidity grab down here around this 523 area, 523.5 or so. Then we could be going higher from here if we get a bounce from that breakout. If we don't get a bounce from there, then we start dipping back down towards this support right over here, towards like the lower levels on the QQQ. So overall, it's bullish. It's on a very, very strong uptrend. There might be a small dip to about 523.8, coming about a 1 to 2 point dip before it tries to bounce again as the most likely possibility. But nonetheless, the QQQ is still looking more bullish, and I think it's doing a fantastic job at least so far. So I think that's very, very awesome to witness, and then we'll have to see how it goes from here. For other factors out there, we have Apple. Apple's on a very, very nice trend right now. We're stuck between 244 and 242. That's going to be our range to watch for. If we lose 242, we're looking for essentially 241.3, not to mention 240, and we'll see if we bounce off any one of those levels. I think we're going to likely remain range bound between 242 and 244, going back and forth and back and forth. We could be dipping closer to 241.3, and then we'll see what kind of reaction we get. So give this some time. We do have kind of like a triple top leg structure, but there could be a dip coming to about 241, and we'll see how things end up going from here. I do anticipate a small dip that could be coming though, and then we'll see what kind of reaction we get after that. For Netflix, we remain a lot more bullish. We're continuing to uptrend very, very strongly. I anticipate it might dip a little bit to retest like the 930 area before it tries to bounce again, but the share price remains more and more bullish as we're continuing to make higher highs and higher lows. We're also riding above our 20 EMA very nicely, continuing to break out from here. So I anticipate that the uptrend is going to continue. It is possible we get a small dip here like this before it tries to break out, but I think that's doing a great job and it remains a lot more bullish. For other factors out there, we have MSTR. This is once again trading sideways and consolidating near 400. If we break the 400 area, I'm going to be looking for a push for 410. And if we lose 385, we're looking for essentially 370. So I think we're going to likely just be range bound from here. We could push a little bit higher for like 405. So we'll have to see how things end up going. Otherwise, we're just kind of stuck in this range for the time being. For Celsius, we're just completely range bound. We're going back and forth between these levels. So we have the support around 27.5. And we have this resistance very close to 30. We're going back and forth in this range. Now, I think what's going to happen is we grab liquidity right over here and then we dipped. So that makes me suspect that this is going to most likely dip lower for 27.5. We'll be watching to see if we get a bounce off of that, but just watch that very closely for a small potential dip, and we'll see if we bounce or not from there. We'll look for that dip. For super micro, we look more bullish as we're making higher highs and higher lows. We have the support to watch for around the 45 area, but I think that this will likely continue. Let's look for a test of 50. I think we could be testing 50 before we dip back down towards the breakout around that 44 area. So look for 50, then I move back down to about 45, and we'll see how it ends up reacting from there. Do we bounce or not? For Palantir, we look more bullish. As long as we don't lose 76, we are favoring a push for closer to 80. So it could slow down here to start pushing for 80, so give it some time to develop. For Rivian, Rivian is once again doing a great job as we're making higher highs right over here. As long as we don't end up losing our key support around this 12.5 area, I think this is favoring upside for essentially 13.5. So we're forming a nice looking accumulation here. I think 13.5 is a stronger possibility, so give this the time it needs to develop. For SoFi, SoFi is once again completely range bound. We are stuck with around this 15 zone. However, we are making like lower highs here. So what I think is going to happen is this: we have this trend. So if you look at it just like this, I think that this could be a very interesting like downtrend that's developing here. So it's possible we try to push for about this 16.2 area, but then we could reject, and we could be forming a flag. So it's also possible we're just doing something like this. So we'll see about that. But for now, I do anticipate that this might be pushing for the 16.2 area, and we'll see if we reject off of that or not. So look for a small push on SoFi, and we'll see how it reacts. For Rivian, same thing. We also, not Rivian, sorry, the IWM Russell 2000 is the same thing. There's a bit of a downtrend that it's technically in, but this could be a giant flag that's forming simultaneously. So going into tomorrow, we might grab liquidity around 240 and dip down to 237, just continue to trade in this range. We're waiting to see if we get a breakout for a much bigger move. Otherwise, we're just completely stuck within this channel. So just keep that in mind. That's the most likely case for this, at least moving forward. I also want to say that it's been very resilient at holding its supports, but for now, it looks like there's going to be a channel. For AMD, we're on a bit of a downtrend here. We rejected here, so look for a dip closer to about 136 before it tries to bounce back up. So look for a small dip to 138 and 136, and we'll see if we bounce or not. For ARM is just completely in our range. As long as we don't lose 140, this is favoring a pushback up for 142.8, and we'll have to see how things end up going from here. I think there's a good chance that we continue this uptrend. So if we hold support, we're looking for 144, and we'll have to see what happens after that. For Coinbase, Coinbase is on a very, very strong uptrend right over here. I think that there's a very, very good chance that this will continue to form a nice accumulation. And I think that coin has a lot more upside potential. As long as we don't end up losing this 335 area, I think that this is favoring upside for essentially 350. I think we have a nice looking accumulation. I think 350 will be tested so far on coin as Bitcoin's trying to push a little bit higher too, but then we'll see what kind of reaction we get from there. For Amazon, we're making higher highs and higher lows. We're on a very, very strong uptrend. We could be trying to break past 27.5 to hit, 227.5 to 228. And if that breaks, we're looking for 230 as our target. But if we lose 225, we're looking for a dip back down for 223.5. So look for a little bit more upside for 228, and we'll see if we reject or not off of this. But overall, I think we're doing a great job. I think Amazon looks more bullish, and the direction is still in favor of more upside, closer to 230. Meta might dip a little bit to the breakout area at this 220 or the 620 area, excuse me, back down here before it tries to bounce. But overall, it's bullish. It's making higher highs and higher lows. So we could be looking for a move like this where it comes down right over here to this support and then it tries to bounce off of this. But overall, it looks a lot more bullish to me. So look for a test of 620 and we'll see if it bounces off of that. Microsoft is just consolidating around 444. If it does not break past that, we're looking for 440 as our target. Google could dip a little bit. We have kind of like a high here, came down at a lower high. Typically, this leads to a dip to about the 175 area before it tries to bounce. So watch and see what kind of reaction we get. For DJT, we are range bound here. We're holding our 20 EMA, but we could be pushing higher for about 35.5. This might try to push for 35.5 before we see another reaction, so just keep that in mind. The VIX is a little bit more bearish on the 4-hour time frame. This could be dipping lower, closer to about 12.5. But the issue with the VIX is that because of the fact that there's a bearish cross in the PPO, 12.5 is a very, very strong support historically. So we'll have to see if the VIX bounces off of that. I do expect it to dip a little bit more, and we'll have to see what the reaction we get from 12.5. The 10-year is dipping. It's not really affecting the market as much. The dollar has a possible head and shoulders. It's also not affecting the market as much, so I'm not too concerned about this. This is what the head and shoulders looks like. So we'll see if the dollar dips more. But overall, the market's holding up very, very well. It's holding its key supports. SPY does have the potential to dip just a little bit by about 1 point, but otherwise, I would say it's still holding its support quite nicely. So we'll see if we dip to about 606 and get a bounce or not. And overall, the trend is still decent. Tesla, on the other hand, is very strong. It's very bullish. So we're going to be looking for this to surpass 400. If that breaks, the mid 400s could be coming. Sorry, the 405 area could be coming, and then eventually we could get very close to all-time highs. So it looks very bullish. Expect more upside. Tesla's doing a great job at holding up. As long as we don't lose our key support, especially close to that 390 area, not to mention like 385. Tesla favors upside. It's going to continue to push for 400. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy some football. Enjoy what life has to offer. I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow. Thank you and peace out.